Hello, everybody, and welcome to day three of this course. And today we are gonna, go into the software of Unity, as we have already installed the software in our last video, and we also took a brief, intro about the Windows, right? So today we will be diving deep into the Windows as to what exactly Windows do, how do they actually perform, and what are the ways to navigate them, and how can we use them. So basically today we'll be learning how to navigate in Unity. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll just share my screen here. So here we are. Okay, so this is where we left last time, right? Where we were playing around with the cube and the sphere, and having a look at things. We were talking about the play mode and the game mode, right? Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we did in the last session. So basically, we simply downloaded and installed Unity. After that, we had a look about the windows, right? So what were the windows? First and the foremost was the hierarchy window on the left. Then we had the scene window. Then we had the game window, which shows us the view of the camera. Then we had the inspector window, which shows us the properties of any selected object, right? Then we had the project window, which contains all the assets which might or might not be used in the scene currently, right? And then the console window, which was supposed to be used while putting some debug logs, or putting some print statements or anything like that, right? So in this video we will be taking a deeper dive into a window which is the scene window, and this is where you would be spending most of your time as a developer, right? Because you will be developing, so you would be developing in this scene window, and most of the times you'll be playing around here. And once you're satisfied, or once you want to check things, then you would be switching to the game view, game window, where you would be seeing, okay, how my game actually looks, right, from the user's point of view. So scene window has a lot to offer. Okay, you would be seeing this whole is the scene window, right? So it has these buttons, it has something like this, and these buttons, and so many things. Okay, so let's get started one by one. Okay, so let's tackle these buttons first. Okay, so as of now we are in a scene window and we are looking at a view. Okay, this is a view where we are able to see this square, see this cube, and this sphere from this point of view. Okay, what if we want to see it from another direction? What if we want to move the scene where we are looking at the moment? So first and the foremost tool is the view tool. Okay, if we select on this, this will be blued out. Okay, and now if we click, okay, I'm clicking via my left click, and if we drag while clicking, so we will be able to move the scene. Okay, as you can see here, so this is the view tool. Okay, coming on to the next tool, which is move tool. Okay, let's see what happens. So now if I move, left click and move my mouse, drag my mouse, nothing happens. Why is that so? So this tool is specific to each object. Okay, so all the things that are in Unity, these, everything is known as a game object. So we'll be referring them as a game object. Like this cube is also a game object, this sphere is also a game object, this camera is also a game object, this lighting is also a game object. Okay, so this move tool is specific to a game object. So we need to select one game object. For example, if you select cube, okay. So did you just see what happened? It automatically zoomed in. That is not the function of move tool. Okay, that happened because I double clicked. Okay, because I double clicked. So another thing is you can double click on any game object to zoom into it, or maybe to get that thing into focus. Okay, let's double click on sphere and let's see what happens. See, so wherever we were, our view is shifted where we can focus on the sphere. Okay, so yeah, other than that, we were talking about the move tool. So when we select sphere, after selecting move tool, we see three arrows. Okay, what are these three arrows? So basically in Unity, we work in the 3D realm, okay, in the 3D coordinate system. And here you would see this orientation gizmo. This is known as the orientation gizmo. And here you would see this red thingy is X, this green stands for Y direction, and this blue stands for Z direction. Okay, so how would you remember that? Simply by remembering RGB, my bad. Okay, by simply remembering RGB, that is red, green, blue, which is X, Y, Z. So red is X, green is Y, and blue is Z. Okay, So we have selected this blue tool, this move tool, and we have here this, three arrows. So what we can do is we can move this whole game object, whatever game object is selected, maybe the cube, maybe the sphere, we can simply move that thing. Okay, so if I select this arrow, green arrow pointing upwards, I'll be able to move it in the y direction. Okay, and you can also see this here itself. If I move this, the position of this game object will be updated. And what are these things? These are the properties of the selected game object, right? That is what the inspector window does. So take a look at this y value when I move it up. So y value increases as we are moving only in y direction. No other value changes, right? Not the x, not the z, right? Now what happens if you move in the red? Why the red arrow? So red is for x-axis. Okay, so let's see on the transform itself. Let's see what happens. So when we move via the red arrow, yep, the x-axis is increasing, the value of x-axis is increasing, right? And when we go back, this decreases. Okay, similarly, if we move ahead with the z thingy, this z axis or the blue arrow, our z value will change. We are able to move this because of the move tool, because of these arrows. So this, when we are moving by the arrows, you would have seen that we are only moving in one axis. Like if you are using the green arrow, then we are moving in the x-axis up or down. We can just go up and down. We cannot go sideways. Okay. What if we want to move in a plane? Like if you want to just move in, x y direction, x y plane, and not in the maybe the z plane. Okay. So if I zoom in, you would see these, little planes. Okay. And if we Okay, yeah, you'll be seeing three planes, right? So if I move by this plane, I'll be able to move in x and y, in x and y. Take a look at this transform, okay? So I'm holding this and I'm able to move in x and y. I'm able to change x and y because I'm able to move in xy plane, right? Now, if I move this thingy, this plane, I'll be able to move in x and z. So the y will remain same and x and z will change, okay? So with the help of move tool, you can move in individual directions as well as in individual planes as well. Okay, for example, this will be the YZ plane, right? So this is how it works. Okay, so currently we are pretty much zoomed into on this sphere. So let's zoom out a bit. But how can we do that? We can simply do that via a scroll wheel of our mouse. Okay, use the scroll wheel of the mouse to zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Also, we just saw that I moved the camera. We were positioned like this and I moved the camera like this, right? Right. So how can we do that? We can do that via the Alt button on Windows and the Option button on Mac. While pressing this button, simply click on your left mouse button, okay, and then drag. So when you do this, what happens is basically your object will be in the center and you can rotate the camera around it, below it, above it, right? So this is pretty handy when you want to see the object from different angles. Okay. So as soon as you press the Alt or the Option button on Mac or Alt button on Windows, you will see an eye pop up, right? You will see the eye icon pop up on your mouse, right? As of now, we have a mouse arrow, right? Now, as soon as I press the Alt or Option button, then I see the eye. After that, I can simply rotate it and see my object from various angles. Okay. So we just learned about the move tool as well as zoom in, zoom out, and keeping the object centered, the game object centered, and see it from different angles. Okay. Let's move on to a different tool. That is the rotation tool on this bar. Okay. So as the name suggests, the rotation tool basically rotates the game objects, and it will be much easier for us to view it for the cube thing, right? Because the sphere is pretty spherical and we won't be able to see if we are rotating it or not. Okay. So again, let me just position this like this and let's see. So again, in the rotate tool, we have again three axes, right? Blue, red, and green. As similar to the move tool, these also rotate basically on the given axes, right? So let's give it a try. So if you want to rotate the object around the y-axis, so when we say we want to rotate an object around, basically y-axis is going through the object. We have to imagine y-axis is going through the object, and we are rotating it around. Okay, so let's see. If we rotate it, so this should rotate like this, right? Again, if I go to the move tool, we have the y-axis going through the cube, okay, like going through it in the center of it, right? And so it should rotate around it, right? Left and right, absolutely. Similarly, if you want to rotate around the x-axis, it should rotate on this axis, and it should be up and down. Yeah. Okay. Similarly, if you want to rotate on the z-axis, we can get hold of the blue axis and rotate it. So as we just saw, we can rotate the game object with the help of the rotate tool. This is one of the tools present in the scene view. Okay. Also, if you are rotating this without holding any of the axis, then it will be on free rotate. That means it will be rotating on all axes. So as of now, I can rotate it in X, Y, Z, all the axes, right? Because I'm not holding any specific axis. If I hold the blue axis, then I'm rotating it along the Z axis. Okay. So this is the rotate tool. Next, we have the scale tool. Yes. So let's reset the rotation of the cube so that we can see it easily. So we'll select the cube, and here we will click on it and put in 0 for X, 0 for Y, and 0 for Z. So this will bring it to the default rotation. Okay. So now we'll be able to see the scale tool easily. So again, scale tool has three axes, X, Y, and Z. As we all know, if we use the x-axis, it will be scaling it in the x-axis. So let's see. So I'm holding this cube on x-axis and scaling it. A thing to notice here is if you're scaling it, it's not only scaling it towards left, it's scaling it on the axis equally on the both sides, on the left as well as on right, as you can see here. Similarly, if we scale it on the y-axis, that is the height, it should change the height, like it should add the height in both the ways, right? On the negative part as well as on the positive part. Similarly, if we do the z-axis, it will add the height, add the, scale it on both the axes, right? So these were few of the tools. Let's do a recap. So what tool should we use if we want to move the tool? Move the game object. We should use a move tool, and we can move the object via the move tool. Yes. What if you want to rotate? Then we can use the rotate tool to rotate things, right? Yep. What if we want to scale the things of game objects? We can use the scale tool. Okay, in scale tool, if you see closely, there is one cube in the middle of it, right? And if we scale it via this thingy, then this will scale the game object from all axes. So let's try this. Let's click on it and drag. So now our cube is scaling from all the axes, right? Yes. Next, we have the rect tool. So this tool is basically used for UI, that is the 2D elements, maybe a button or a slide or a panel, which we'll be covering later on. Okay. Now this is the transform tool. Basically, this tool has all the tools in one. That is the move tool, the rotation tool, as well as the scale tool. Okay, so if you want to access all three of them at once, you can use the transform tool. Why it is known as a transform tool? Because transform contains the position, rotation, and scale of the object. So basically, if we are able to access all three tools at the moment, that's why this is the transform tool. Okay, so these were a few of the tools that we can use to manipulate the game objects. Okay, now what if we want to move in the scene? Like I'm seeing this from here. I already know that I can view it from left, like I can move the scene up and down. Okay, I also know while holding the alt or the option key, I can, rotate my camera around the object. But what if I want to move in this scene? Like I want to go close to the sphere. So what we can do is, if we right click on a mouse, then again this eye view comes up, and while holding the right button down, if we can use the WASD to move. So as you can see, I'm able to move in the scene, move around in the scene. Okay. So here what I'm doing is I'm using A to go left, D to go right, W to go forward, and S to go backward. Okay. And at the moment I am pressing my right button down. Okay. I am pressing it. That is why I'm seeing the I icon. If I leave it, again, no icon. Okay. If I click my right click button, then I can see the I icon. Okay. And then we can simply move the around the scene with the WASD wherever we want. With the help of this, we can actually go anywhere and see whatever we want to see. Okay. That is not the case in the game view, right? Why? Because the game view only shows what the camera sees. Here we cannot do any of these operations, going left, right click, or nothing like that. This will only show us whatever camera sees. Okay. But while developing, we want to see it from different angles, right? If it is perfectly placed or not, if it looks good or not, right? So this is how we can navigate in our scene. Okay. So if we increase the size of the sphere, then in the game view also it would be increased. Okay, let's put them side by side. So game view shows whatever our camera sees, right? So if I increase it, it will increase. If I decrease it, it will decrease. In the scene view, I can move around while holding my right button down and using WASD. I can move around wherever I want to, but that's not possible in the game view. Why? Because game view is to show what the user will actually see and how the user will interact. We haven't added any interactivity as of now. That is why we cannot move in the game. Okay, so these were a few tools for the scene view, which will be really handy when you're developing your games or apps and you want to see things, you want to place things, you want to position things properly, you want to move them, you want to rotate them, right? Okay, so now you would see that I'm able to change the tools without clicking on these buttons. How is that so? So a shortcut for these tools is the keyboard. Okay, on the keyboard, if you click W, you would be switched to the move tool. Okay, if you click E, that is on the right of W, will be switched to the rotation tool. Then the scale tool. R will take you to the scale tool. T will again take you to the this rect tool, and then Y will give you access to the transform tool, which has all the three tools. Okay, so this part of the section done. Now let's see what these buttons are. So we don't need to know, we don't need to know about all the buttons. We'll be talking about them in depth when we go, when we progress in our course. But as of now, we want to know a few buttons. Okay, so this is a grid button. Okay, which will show or hide the grid. So if I click on it, you will see this grid light, right? These lines. If I click on it, it will go away. There are no lines, no grid. Okay, so this says that we have to show the grid on the y-axis, right? And we can similarly see the grid on z-axis and x-axis. Okay, but it's much better to see only on y-axis. Okay, so that we can place our things properly, we can position them accordingly, just like a coordinate system. Okay, now moving on to here, this is a view. This panel helps us view, change the view of our scene window. So as of now, we are seeing a shaded view, but we can also see a wireframe view. In the wireframe view, it will only show you the wireframe. Okay, so this is how basically these objects have been made. Okay, and if we go to shaded wireframe, this would show the shaded part, that is like the colors and material as well as the wireframe. Okay, and there are multiple more, but majorly we stay in the shaded mode, or sometimes we want to go into the wireframe mode as well as required. Okay, but most probably for us we'll be only using the shaded stuff. Okay, what does this button do? This button says 2D. So basically when you toggle, basically when you click on it, it will take you to 2D. So now we're in a 2D mode. We cannot rotate, basically it's just up or down, there's no Z. Okay, if we click again on it, we'll be into a 3D mode. Now we can actually rotate like that in the 3 axis, right? Then we can simply move on to this tool, this button, which is basically Gizmo. Now, what is a Gizmo? So all these buttons, right? All these things that you see, like camera. So we do not have a camera object, right? But we have a symbol for the camera. So this shows where our camera is actually positioned. We do not have a light, like we do not have a game object or a some bulb showing light. So this is a gizmo which says that light is positioned here. Okay. So this, with the help of this button, we can access gizmos. We can increase its size, decrease its size. Maybe we can hide all the gizmos if we click on it, and so forth. Okay. Then we have this, complex looking button. Okay. So what exactly is this? So this is a orientation button. Okay. This is the orientation gizmo. Okay. So with the help of this, you can orient your view in whatever perspective you want. So as of now, we're in perspective mode. Again, perspective mode is 3D mode. If we click on it, we're into ISO mode. It says ISO. If you, yeah. So it says ISO again, which is 2D. Okay. So here again, you would see X, Z, and Y as well. So if you click on it, this will position it on the X axis. So this is the right view. This is the back view. This is the left view. This is the front. Because sometimes you want to see things from the front and how do they look, and it will be pretty difficult for you to navigate and exactly position yourself in the front. You might think that this is the front, but actually if you move, this is the actual front, right? So this gizmo is used to basically see things from a perfect set angle, that is front, maybe top view. This is a top view basically. Okay, let me help you. Let me reset this cube. Okay, now let's see. So this is the top view, this is the left view, this is the front view, right view, and this is the bottom. So basically this gizmo is used to see the different views. Okay, so that's that we are perfectly set on that view. For example, we might think this is the top view, right? We are absolutely on the top, we're seeing the things on the top, but that's not the case. We click on this and this is the absolute top view, right? So this gizmo is pretty handy when you're trying to snap things, when you're trying to put things one on another. So that is where this gizmo comes in handy. So now that we have had a look on the scene and all its tools, now we should be good to go, and we should be able to navigate our scene. Okay. So a simple exercise that you can do is to move around the scene. Okay, while holding your right click button down and moving YWASD. Okay, use the alt or the option button to keep your object in the center and move around it. Also, the best way to learn these tools, or to see if you have got a hold of it, we should try to add multiple objects. Okay, so how do we add objects? In the hierarchy window, simply click, right click, and then say, like, we can, although we can create a lot of different type of objects, you can simply click on a 3D object and create maybe capsule, create maybe a plane, create another cube, and things like that. So they all will be spawned at a position. What you can do is click on the move tool, select one of them, and then move it. Again, click the capsule, move it on a plane, and then move it. Okay. Now use your scroll wheel to zoom out so that you can see everything. And now try to position them one on top of another. So as of now, it looks like that this capsule is on, like, standing on the plane. Let's take a deeper look. Let's go inside and let's see if it is. So as we can see, here is some gap there, right? So try to move it down and you would see it goes beneath it. So when you try to do these things, you will actually get a hold of these tools. Okay. So for example, if I want to put this cube on top of it, so I can go on the top view and see if it is. No, that's not. So I can move it and it looks like it. Let's see from the left view. Again, we have some space here, right? So let's put it down. Let's look at from the front view, and yeah, it looks good to go. But still, you can see there is some space, right? So you can try to, make some tower, or put things on each other, and by using these tools, right? Then you will get to know how to navigate through a scene, because this will be really important when you are making real apps. And that is why I'm just, as of now, or you might be thinking like, dude, we were here to learn about AR, VR and stuff, but getting the basics of Unity right is pretty important. Otherwise you will be stuck when we are doing the AR, VR stuff. And that is why I'm taking you slowly and steadily through basics of Unity, so that you can at least navigate the basic things of Unity, and then we will jump on to AR, VR stuff, right? So for today, this is it. And these are the tools that you should be aware about. And I would say, try to add multiple objects, rotate them, scale them, and see what happens. What are the values that are changing when you're rotating them? You can use this transform component to see what is happening. Okay, so you will get a good idea of what's happening and what you are doing. And after this session, you should be able to navigate yourself in the scene view at least. Okay, so that's all from my side for today. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.